All right, guys, let's get to it. This will be Module 1, Week 1, Discovering Prehistory. Today we are going to talk about what exactly archaeology is, what we can learn by doing it, and why it's so important. I want you to focus on the underlying parts of the lecture. Those are the things that you'll need to remember for the coming weeks and also for the midterms and quizzes. So I pay extra attention to that. I'm going to try to make these lectures as short as possible because I know you have a lot of other work to do, and so do I. So we'll get through it as quick as possible. So let's get started. All right, to begin, we're going to talk about more specifically what archaeology is. So archaeology is a subdiscipline of the broader discipline of anthropology. And anthropology is the study of all humans at all times. So past, present, future, even. It's also the study of all aspects of human society. So not just the material culture, which this class will focus on more specifically, but also the other social culture, political culture, even the biology of humans. And that brings us to that next part of what anthropology is. It's the study of humans as biological and social beings. So if you're interested in that, you can always take physical anthropology, and that talks about human mobility, how humans are related to our earliest ancestors, the Australopithecines. But this class is archaeology specifically, which is the study of human history and prehistory through the excavation in sites and an analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. So the focus of archaeology is on material culture of past humans. And since it's anthropology is the study of all humans, archaeology fits in that really well. All right. There are even subfields within archaeology. The two separations that are most noticeable are between historic and prehistoric archaeology. Prehistoric archaeology deals with cultures and groups that existed before the written record was developed. Prehistory literally means before history. Therefore, there is no written record of events that happened during prehistory. There is no books, no eyewitnesses accounts. All we have to work with is the material culture left behind by the peoples. The period of prehistory varies across space and time as writing and language developed amongst different cultures based on necessity. We'll talk a little bit more about the development of writing in coming weeks, so I won't get too much into that now. But anyways, prehistory in Europe ends around 3000 BC in places like the Middle East and Mediterranean. But in North America, prehistory doesn't end until around 1500 or so, with the discovery of what is now North America by European explorers. As I mentioned in the last slide, we learn about prehistory through the materials that people left behind. So literally, we learn about the past by digging through really, really old garbage. Even though these items were forgotten and left by past peoples, they are immensely valuable to archaeologists because they can provide information about how peoples lived in the past. These material remains are referred to as artifacts. Artifacts can include discarded tools and vessels, artwork, including figures like the Venus of Waldorf, which is depicted in the upper left-hand corner of the slide. Cave drawings, such as those that were recovered in the Lascaux Cave, are also immensely important to archaeology. And plant and animal remains like charcoal and bone can also be used to learn about the activities and culture of prehistoric peoples. Here's a fun fact for you. An object only has to be 50 years old in Ohio to be considered an artifact. So, when I say artifacts can tell us about how people lived in the past, you're probably asking yourself what a bone can tell you about the life of a prehistoric person. Well, if that bone is an animal bone, it can provide information about their diet. So, when I say artifacts can tell us about how people lived in the past, you're probably asking yourself what a bone can tell you about the life of a prehistoric person. Well, if that bone is an animal bone, it can provide information about their diet, especially if that bone was recovered from a trash pit or a hearth. If it is the human bone, it can provide information about what kind of activities that person was participating in over the course of their life by looking at wear patterns on the bone from continuous or repeated activity. Even the smallest of materials, such as pollen and charcoal, are important as they can provide information about climate and environmental conditions. The most common artifacts archaeologists are confronted with are stone tools, which we will go into depth in next lecture, but they can provide a great deal of information, such as whether hunting was practiced and if it was with a bow or a spear, just by looking at the projectile point shape and size. Looking to the image on the left, what can the artifacts in the picture tell you? What might the presence of fish hooks, mean about the people that used them? For instance, it probably meant that they lived near or around a river or a body of Archaeologists, like other scientists, make use of theory to make sense of what they observe. A theory is an idea or an expression that is presented as a possible explanation that has not yet been proven false. It is accepted as truth and based on tried and true scientific facts. Theory is often misconstrued as something that is based on false claims and is unfounded. But where would we be without Newton's theory of gravity? Theories are tested by creating hypotheses, which are possible explanations based on observations. They are the starting points for further investigation. Hypotheses can be created through deductive or inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning starts with a general idea, such as, it's warm outside, and this general idea is backed up by observations, such as, people are walking around in shorts and flip-flops, and the thermometer says it's 90 degrees out. Inductive reasoning is the inverse of deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning starts with specific observations, such as the thermometer says it's 90 degrees out, and people are in shorts. Therefore, the general premise would be, it's hot outside. Hypotheses are tested by experimentation, which are events that are done to verify those general statements. Experiments are usually repeated multiple times to obtain a degree of certainty. Data or information is gathered through the experiment process and evaluated after experimentation has concluded. Archaeologists develop hypotheses by observing the material culture recovered from archaeological sites. Hypotheses can be developed by using a method called behavioral analogy. Behavioral analogy compares actions of modern-day humans to prehistoric material culture to determine if activities were similar. The Lascaux cave The Lascaux cave is a great example of how material remains, in this case cave paintings, can help us understand humans. The Sceaux Cave is located in France and contains over 600 paintings on its floors and ceilings. The cave was painted over 50,000 years ago by early modern humans in the Upper Paleolithic period. The paintings depict various animals, plants, and possibly even hunting practices. Other caves like this exist in various parts of the world and contain different images, and also artifacts, including stone tools, musical instruments, and carvings. Now, creativity like this is unique to the human species. We have the ability to plan ahead and imagine, which gave us a great advantage over our other early human ancestors, like Homo erectus and the Neanderthals. This creativity allowed our species to persist throughout prehistory and into the present. Humans, both ancient and modern, modify their tools to suit their environments and to accomplish tasks quickly and effectively, as oftentimes, especially in the past, it could mean life or death. We gather materials and tools based on the environment around us. We look to others close to us, like our family and friends, and to society as a whole as a model on how to make and use those materials. Not all cultures will do things the same way. Hunters and gatherers have no need for grocery stores as they get their food from their land. However, we in the industrial United States need grocery stores and farmers markets to obtain our food. Humans have a culturally or socially specific consciousness when it comes to food, clothing, tools, and art. Throughout this course, we will see a lot of variation over space and time. It is important to note that even though writing developed earlier in Europe than it did in North America, European countries were not more progressive or superior to Native Americans. Their culture and lifeways were shaped by their needs and environments at the time. All right, so why is archaeology important? Why should you take this class? Well, archaeology, for one, is a really cool discipline, and I'm going to try to make it as fun as I can for you guys. And I encourage you to go out and do it for yourselves. It's quite an experience to excavate and find a stone tool like an arrowhead that was created 4,000 years ago and hold it in the palm of your hand. It's a feeling like no other. But more of the practical reasons for doing archaeology is that it's really important to society. Archaeology is an active way of generating knowledge about the past, and new discoveries always yield new knowledge. There's civilizations yet to be discovered and linkages to the past that have not been made yet. Another cool thing about archaeology and why it's important is that it provides us information about technologies and systems that can help us with modern day problems. For instance, the terraces on the left are an ancient technology. It's a way of providing large amounts of food for state systems on land that is not quite suitable for those state systems to inhabit. By building terraces, they can create a larger agricultural system and feed large amounts of people. Also, archaeology is crucial for preserving the past and making it accessible to the public. Archaeological sites are finite, and archaeology, the nature of it is destructive. Once you dig something up, it can't be replaced. So it's very important to do archaeology right and to keep a good record of what you do. Also, archaeology sites are very fragile, especially today. as they are in danger of destruction due to industrialization, so the building of any sort of infrastructure, and environmental conditions, especially climate change and the rising sea level, put a lot of archaeological sites in danger too. So archaeology it's crucial, and it's a really fun subject, and I'm really glad that you guys are all taking this class so we can learn about it together.